Now it gives me great pleasure to invite our guest of honor, Professor Martin Humphries, the Vice President and Dean of the Faculty of Life Sciences, University of Manchester, to deliver his opening address. Please.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here again, and on behalf of all the faculty and staff from the University of Manchester, I'd like to thank you for your warm welcome again. I also would like to thank our host at A Star, who have organised the symposium for us these last few days. And I can see a number of people here in the audience, so we're trying to make this too Manchester-centric for you, but I think inevitably it's going to be a bit that way. So I think for the alumni of the university, then this event is a chance for you to network, of course, but it's also a chance for me to say a little bit about what's going on in the university, and I'll do that in a minute. I think for us it's a chance to hear about your reminiscences of being in Manchester, of which I know from past experience there are many of those, and it's great to hear them. But also we'd like to engage with you to discuss how you can actually help the university going forward. And so I think a lot of that can happen in the networking after these formal presentations. Before that, what I'll just do is I can't possibly cover everything that's going on in the university. There's just too much. But I'll give you a flavour, I think, of the direction that we're travelling in. And helpfully, we'll have a series of videos at the end of my presentation, which will certainly deliver far better than I could the research strengths that we have in the university. Let me start, though, by just commenting on the scale of the university. So I'm sure many of you know that it's a big place. By some measures, it's actually the largest university in the UK. So we have the most students in the UK, over 40,000 now. And among those 40,000 students, we have the most overseas students in the UK. We have the most applications in the UK. So it's huge. The budget of the university, the turnover, is now nearly £1 billion. So Professor Dame Nancy Rothwell, the president of the university, who you just saw in the video there, she's actually running £1 billion business, which certainly means that she has probably about the same amount of sleep that I've had this week. Hers is through workload, mine's through jet lag. We also have one of the largest programs of estates redevelopment in the UK. So again, that's probably now over £1 billion that's been invested in the estate of the university since the turn of the century. You saw some of that in the video, and those of you familiar with the layout of the campus will have spotted some new buildings. For example, the University Place, the round stainless steel building that took the place of the old maths tower. That program is now well advanced, but it's not slowing down. There's lots of developments happening over the next few years. So the biomedical campus is largely being completed now. We've just opened the redevelopment of the Whitworth Art Gallery. I'm pleased to report that very recently the Art Gallery won Museum of the Year, beating a range of quite prestigious places, not least the University of Oxford Museum. I'm trying not to smile. But I think for any of you that go back to Manchester and visit, it's a fabulous place now. They've really opened the art gallery out into Whitworth Park. And that was the vision, I think, behind what Maria Balshaw was trying to achieve. So it's well worth a visit. We've just opened a new Manchester Cancer Research Centre building opposite the Patterson Institute, now renamed as the CRUK Manchester Institute, down in Withington. And people are moving into that building over the next few weeks. We have plans for further building on that site, primarily for a biomarker centre. But as you'll see, the cancer beacon is one of our strengths in Manchester. And there are other developments underway. So I suspect many of you in the audience are alumni of the Manchester Business School. And there are great plans to refurbish that building and link it to an adjacent hotel that will provide high-quality accommodation on campus for the first time. And then last but by no means least, again, many of you will have worked on the old UMIST site, what we call now the North Campus. And there are big plans to relocate all of the engineering activity from that North Campus down to the south part of the campus. So those of you that actually lived in Grosvenor Place at one stage, that will no longer exist. So if you want to get a picture, you better move quickly because the bulldozers are on site now. But so behind the aquatics swimming pool that was put up for the Commonwealth Games, there'll be a new engineering campus. And that's a £300 million development that will integrate, at least in space, all of the engineering activity in the university. So for the first time, I think all of the research and teaching activity in the university will be on one contiguous campus. And it'll be pretty spectacular. This massive scale, of course, brings the benefits of breadth and depth. And I think that at the end of the day, that's behind the success of any university. But we also recognise that times are changing, and it's important when resources limiting that we actually focus our efforts and we prioritise what we do. And that, together with the realisation that you can't do everything within one institution, you must collaborate, leads me to the two sorts of themes that I'll just touch on briefly at the end of this short talk, i.e. focus and partnership. And that's not just an issue for the university, it's also an issue for the government and the city of Manchester. So there's what's dominating our thinking in the university at the moment are government initiatives centred on devolution. So you've probably noticed in the news that now that the Conservative government's been re-elected, they're pushing ahead very rapidly with their agenda of devolution. Just last week, Joe Johnson, who's the Minister for Universities and Science, announced his plan for a one-nation state in terms of research. The view is that, in a way, the UK institutions have actually competed too aggressively. Competition's good, but we're probably not exploiting the strengths of the potential collaboration that we could have within the country. And so there'll be schemes, I'm sure, to incentivise collaboration between universities. The devolution to city councils is gathering pace as well, and Manchester's in the vanguard of that. And certainly Nancy spends a lot of her time talking not only to government ministers but also to city officials, coordinating the university's role in the devolution agenda. So the £6 billion health budget that is spent on Manchester is now being devolved to the Greater Manchester Combined Authority. And that presents a massive opportunity for the university to input into how that money is spent, but also to ultimately make a fantastic impact on the health and social care of the population, which desperately needs it. And so I think local control of that massive budget is a huge responsibility, but I think it could transform the city in time. It's not just Manchester. Again, the Chancellor announced last week that all cities are being encouraged to put forward similar plans, not only for health, but also ultimately, I think, for transportation, education, etc. So I think we're entering an era where there'll be greater devolution, greater delegation of responsibility to cities, and the university needs to play a key role in that. The government is also taking more of a top-down control over research direction, and their buzzword at the moment is productivity. So we've gone from volume to quality to impact and now to productivity, something I think will chime very much with people in Singapore. And that's exemplified by, again, in the last week or two, announcements of funding for facilities at Alderley Park. So it was a sad day for the university when AstraZeneca decided to relocate to Cambridge, but actually, every threat represents an opportunity. And the Alderley Park site is fantastic, superb facilities. And already there's a very thriving biohub that's developed on that site with 60 or 70 companies. But as I say, just a week or two ago, the Chancellor announced that 2 catapults would have a base on that Alderley site. So a catapult is an organisation that's intended to, as the name suggests, to actually springboard research discoveries into industry. And a medical technologies catapult and a spoke of a precision medicine catapult have been announced for the Alderley site. So the precision medicine catapult will be based in Cambridge, but there'll be a strong spoke out to Alderley. And that represents, again, a huge opportunity. And then there'll be a new centre for antimicrobial resistance set up on the Alderley site as well, the details of which are not well established at the present. So the government's very active in actually devolving power and resource to the regions, and the university recognises that and is well placed, I think, to exploit it. As for the university, everything is going pretty well. I think we fear a financial storm is coming. I saw on Twitter this morning that the non-protected government departments have been asked to draw up plans for either a 25% or a 40% cut in resource, in spend. And that will be over the period of the Parliament. And so I think if either of those figures is put in place, then universities will have a huge task ahead of them to push forward while actually managing that reduction in budget. So I think if we feel that the last 5 years have been austere, I think the next 5 years could be much tougher. But again, you've got to sail through that kind of storm. I can't, I don't have time to update you on all the progress in the whole university. I've commented on student numbers. Satisfaction is very good at the university. Employability is very good. We recognise that we need to shape our students ever more for their lives and livelihood, which means not simply teaching them didactically, but actually preparing them for what might be quite a diverse and dynamic career. And that will demand, I think, a change in the way that we teach. We could always discuss that in the questions after the panel, if you wish. On research, the university ranks 38th in the Shanghai Jiaotong University academic ranking. And in the QS ranking, it's 30th, just went up from 33rd to 30th last year. I'm not a big fan of rankings, but it's the world we live in. So I think we're sort of on track to hit an interim target of getting into the top 25 in the world. But of course, remember that even 30th or 38th is 30th or 38th out of thousands of universities. So I think the university, as are many in the UK, are already among the best in the world. In the latest Research Excellence Frame, which is the national assessment of research that's conducted by the government on research power, so the amount of quality research that's performed in the university over that period, the university came 5th. So again, respectable position in the country. And then that takes me then to the Beacon, which is the title that you can see here. So I said earlier that we can't properly resource everything in the university. Resource is limiting, and so I think you need to actually invest where you can in the areas where you can truly make a difference. And what we've done is gone through a process of assessing which are the greatest strengths in the university, and where do we have a chance to really make a difference globally. And we've identified 5 areas. So each of these videos that hopefully I'll navigate my way through will give you a sense of just what is happening in the university in a research sense. So here we go.
Across the world, we face challenges that impact upon all of our lives. We demand so much of our planet, of ourselves, and of each other. At the University of Manchester, we're meeting these challenges head-on. We're committing our knowledge and power to tackling some of the world's critical questions. Our research is leading to more efficient, sustainable, and affordable energy for the planet. It's finding sustainable alternatives to the finite resources used to manufacture goods we use every day. We're developing advanced materials for the most extreme environments and the most familiar. Our expertise is helping to tackle inequalities that people face across the globe. It's also helping to create a world in which more of us survive cancer and live longer. As long as the world keeps turning, we'll continue to face challenges, and our demands will keep growing by the day. But as the UK's biggest campus-based university, Manchester has the size and strength to see the new ways forward, bringing the best minds together. From across disciplines and sectors, we find fresh and innovative answers to the world's biggest questions. These are global challenges. These are Manchester solutions.
I should say that we had a bit of trouble using the embedded PowerPoint, so I have to launch all these individually. So the first beacon then is energy.
We depend on energy in all aspects of our lives, but the way we generate and consume energy needs to change. To curb climate change, our sources of energy must be low carbon, and we need to live more sustainably. At the same time, energy should be more readily available and affordable around the world. The University of Manchester is developing the technologies of the future so that we can continue to heat our homes, light our buildings, and travel. Our facilities, from our 2 megavolt high voltage lab to our £20 million Dalton Cumbrian facility, help us to develop the energy solutions needed to meet demand. At our Dalton Nuclear Institute, we research the entire nuclear fuel cycle, from innovating manufacturing techniques for new build to helping extend the operating life of existing reactors. Our research into renewables is helping to make wave energy commercially viable, solar panels more efficient, and the power generated by wind farms more controllable. We've developed a GPS system to help the national grid prevent electricity blackouts. Our pylon technology is increasing the capacity of the UK's electricity network. Our input led to the UK becoming the first country in the world to write carbon budgets into legislation. We're also influencing fuel poverty policies on a global scale. To get to tomorrow's homes, energy will have to come from a mix of sources and travel new routes, going further and faster, leaving lower carbon footprints. At the University of Manchester, we're making sure the systems are in place for this journey to happen. Global challenges, Manchester solutions.
Next, cancer.
The tide is turning in the battle against cancer. More than 1 in 3 of us will be diagnosed with some form of the disease during our lifetime. But we're now fighting back. Cancer survival in the UK has doubled in the last 40 years. To take more control of cancer, we need to keep advancing our understanding of the disease. 200 types. Its reach is universal, with 14 million new cases worldwide in 2012. The breadth and scale of research at the University of Manchester allows us to bring minds together to loosen cancer's grip. As well as detection, therapy and developing new drugs, we're leading work on community nursing, chemotherapy at home and the use of nutritional supplements ahead of cancer surgery. Our psychologists work to change perceptions around tanning, smoking and alcohol, and they're helping the parents of children with cancer to understand the disease. We have come a long way in the fight against cancer, but the disease remains a huge problem. At the University of Manchester, we're reaching out to where help is most needed. We're pioneering one of the most exciting developments in treating cancer since chemotherapy. Treatments that are personalised for patients. And through the Manchester Cancer Research Centre, we're working with Cancer Research UK and the Christie NHS Foundation Trust to cement Manchester's reputation as a world-leading cancer centre. We believe the time will come when cancer is no longer in control and people who have cancer will live better and longer lives. Global challenges, Manchester solutions.
You want to go back to the previous video? Always remember to close the tab. Is that one there? So the third beacon is advanced materials.
Materials are all around us, from the built environment to the clothes we wear. They ensure we can travel quickly, efficiently and safely. They enable us to communicate. Materials help us to survive. At the University of Manchester, we're world leading at developing materials that can cope in extreme environments. Our expertise in corrosion and stress is enabling fuel companies to dig for oil and gas at deeper ocean depths. It's helping to develop the next generation of nuclear reactors. We need more sustainable forms of transport. That's why Rolls-Royce worked with us to develop an aero engine that's 25% more fuel efficient than its closest competitor. And then there's graphene. Not only did we discover this material's revolutionary properties, we're leading research into its uses, from sustainable energy storage to sanitation systems that could deliver clean water for millions in developing communities. With the National Graphene Institute and Graphene Engineering Innovation Centre set to open on campus, we're established as the home of this two-dimensional wonder material. As the world becomes more connected, we need materials that are lighter, stronger and more sustainable. Materials that don't yet exist. Materials that will allow us to travel more often, at greater speeds and, in the future, beyond the confines of Earth itself. We'll soon be the home of the £235 million Sir Henry Royce Advanced Materials Institute, where we'll play a crucial role in addressing the challenges facing society and make advanced materials a catalyst for growth in the UK's economy. We're preparing the world to cope with the pressures of the modern age. Global challenges, Manchester solutions.
Industrial biotechnology.
We live in a society that has long been dependent on coal, oil and gas. These sources of carbon provide the raw material for manufacturing many everyday products that we take for granted. Pharmaceuticals, food and drink, materials, plastics and toiletries. But they won't last forever. The University of Manchester is at the heart of a bio-industrial revolution. We're using biological resources such as plants, algae, fungi, marine life and microorganisms to replace fossil carbon and to manufacture the chemicals and materials we depend on. We're finding solutions to some of the world's biggest challenges, from ensuring food security and affordable healthcare to making energy more efficient. We're world leaders in synthesizing and manufacturing new bio-based chemicals, bringing together the best minds to create enzymes that are crucial to industry. We've already synthesized one of the leading medicines used to tackle hepatitis C. We've engineered bacterial strains to produce flavours and fragrances. Our understanding of enzymes is helping to develop the biofuels of tomorrow. Our society is challenged with a growing and ageing population, fossil carbon depletion, and climate change. To meet these challenges, chemicals manufacture in the 21st century needs to be smarter, more predictable, and more sustainable. By creating the next generation of chemicals for industry and healthcare, we're helping to revolutionise the economic, social, and environmental landscape. Global Challenges, Manchester Solutions.
And then finally, this one. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so there's some videos. And we've got experts in the audience in almost all of those areas. And so I think in the questions, if it crops up, I may call on colleagues to actually answer them. So thank you very much. Thank you for your attention.